Huge swaths of newly exposed toxic waste near a controversial East Houston affordable housing project currently under construction.
One of Houston's biggest TV reporters called it a toxic surprise. But we weren't surprised at all. We had been warning Houston City Hall for 4 years that the dirt under the 800 Middle Street project was dangerous. The Turner administration ignored us. They lied to HUD, who trusted the mayor to watchdog the project. Boy, that was a mistake. When do the lies stop? The Houston Housing Authority has mortgaged all of our futures with these politically corrupt insider real estate deals. Our latest investigation has already been seen by over 185,000 people on our growing social media pages.
Welcome to our June 25th Board of Commissioners meeting.
And just hours before the new and supposedly improved Housing Authority Board met, we'd already sent pictures of the newly found ash to the new HHA chairman, Jody Proler. But he didn't say a word when the meeting started about the new potential dangers for the little children who will live on the land that taxpayers were repeatedly told was clean. Instead, he bragged about a tour he took along with other city leaders of the 800 Middle Street property the other day. Our warning apparently fell on deaf ears.
We're absolutely moved by the quality, the environment, and the fact that folks are really going to benefit from that.
Wait a second. Did Proler really just boast about the quality of the environment at this place just hours after he knew of new ash being found? Repeated discoveries of toxic dirt in a place we were all told was clean years ago. All of us were lied to. And just weeks after his own boss, Mayor John Whitmire, said this.
I don't know why they would ever occupy the building because it'll set you up for every lawsuit you can imagine.
I got pictures today and video right by that chain link fence that will show you incinerator ash and glass and all kinds of bottles oozing up from the ground. In fact, it was Jody Proler who resigned from this very same board 4 years ago, quitting after he questioned why we were buying this land in the first place. Anyone on the HHA board back then who questioned this real estate deal was quickly replaced.
They're not thinking about the health of the residents 14, 15 years down the line. If that soil is contaminated, those people are going to be sick.
Instead of halting construction until all the ash is found and remediated, the HHA board simply ignored the environmental threat, instead voting to add another $12 million in public debt to an already exorbitant public housing project, now at $146 million. These apartments are going to cost $366,000 a piece. Boy, are we getting played. We filed a criminal complaint with the Texas Rangers, alleging NRP, top officials of the Housing Authority, and the housing agency's environmental consultant filed false government documents as part of a conspiracy to hide the environmental dangers here. Dangers which would have likely stopped the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs from ever approving taxpayer-financed bonds for this construction.
It's very personal because I put my heart and soul into this neighborhood for 27 years.
We based our complaint in part on research provided to us by East End developer Alan Atkinson, who's been warning about this place for half a decade.
They lied so they could sneak the application through the TDHCA at the state under the radar.
A key piece of evidence, this application for government bonds, signed by 5 present and former HHA officials, including current board member Christy Kirkendall, one of the only board members still around after Mayor Whitmire's overhaul. NRP and its government partner, the Housing Authority, had to answer a couple of key questions. It was the chance to tell the truth about any environmental threats on or near this property they wanted to build on. The sworn statement said there weren't any, and that, my friends, was a lie. Look around. The Velasco incinerator, next door. Hard to miss, don't you think? Or that giant 1,000-foot-long radio tower, even harder to miss. Or that old Superfund site and lead plant right next door.
And that's why the Attorney General should investigate the fraud that has occurred for these $80 million of tax credit applications that led to the issuance of $80 million of bonds.
5 days after that lie, the Housing Authority hired a new environmental consultant named Mike Marcone. Maybe that was a way to make sure the truth about this place remained hidden underground.
You think it's a conflict of interest to represent both?
Marcone was actually the consultant for the people who sold this land to NRP and then taxpayers in the first place, the family of Ernie Cockrell, Pinto Realty. It was represented that the property was clean. Today, that might be called real estate fraud. For years, In Control provided these annual reports required by the TCEQ as part of a voluntary cleanup program, assuring there was no exposed toxic ash on the property. The TCEQ had been given pictures instead of lush green fields. They never inspected, why would they? But if they had, they would have seen mounds of toxic ash. When it rained, the toxic brew was oozing into Buffalo Bayou. As early as 2019, HHA knew of this contamination. It was Alan Atkinson who brought them the pictures. In January of 2021, Atkinson warned the TCEQ of new areas of exposed toxic ash. HHA, they claimed vegetation covering the ash had been frozen away by Winter Storm Uri. Great story, but bullshit. There are photos of the ash even before that storm. Since then, the Housing Authority has been hit with multiple citations for failing to report the discovery of all this ash back in 2023. Why aren't we making NRP pay for this mess? They're responsible for developing this property. They'll make millions if it's allowed to open. Why aren't we delaying the opening until the entire site is remediated?
I don't understand why the city is not stopping the construction before they put human beings in this piece of land.
Sophia Martinez and another neighbor had to sue to get a judge to order a cleanup. NRP tried to literally cover up the exposed ash with dirt, claiming it wasn't toxic when construction exposed it. Tests later proved it was 6 times the legal limit for lead.
When it started, it went so fast, they didn't have any time to do any real remediation. Lord only knows what they built on top of.
But you wouldn't live there.
No.
Kerry Ostera owns Lead Products right next door to this new public housing project. These markers, the site of the old Superfund site, a legacy of the nasty way they used to make the lead pipes back in the day.
It's just a nasty, nasty business.
The lead business is a lot cleaner these days, but before Ostera bought Lead Products 7 years ago, he was worried about who lived next door, possible liability from what has happened here before.
We did a lot of due diligence, checking out the land.
Guess who Ostera hired to be his environmental consultant? Mike Marcone.
He told us very clearly that he knew this area very well.
Right next door to Lead Products was 800 Middle Street, then just a big empty field. Listen to what this environmental expert supposedly told Ostera.
That land will never be developed on in our lifetime. I said, okay, all right, well. So then at that point, I felt like this area was going to stay industrial.
Funny, Marcone was working as the consultant for the folks who were selling the land to the Housing Authority for a housing project. And now he's the consultant for the Housing Authority. This guy is full of conflicts. You know he works for the Housing Authority now. He's their consultant.
I didn't know that until the video.
When you saw that?
I think a little from the bottom of the deck, actually, the way I feel about it.
He is the bottom of the deck. Here's something frightening. Marcone's LinkedIn says he not only works for HHA, but also is an environmental consultant for Harris County, the flood control district, and the Port of Houston. Makes you wonder who else this guy is lying to. How many other environmental time bombs he's covering up. 2 state agencies are now investigating this environmental deception. The TDHCA ordered new testing, but not by Marcone. But only a few samples, inches deep, were drilled in 2 small corners of this 22-acre property. That's not enough. We say shut it down until all the ground is thoroughly tested and remediated. What a concept. How long will the mayor let HHA President David Northern keep his job? He approved dozens of suspect real estate deals over the last few years. And a new HUD audit slammed the failure of HHA to properly audit the use of all the federal tax money that pours into this place, the mishandling of federal vouchers for Section 8 families. These folks can't even do their original mission right. They never had any business becoming real estate entrepreneurs. But to hear David Northern at the last meeting, everything is peachy. HUD loves us.
It's just amazing when we can have this type of progress with the Housing Authority.
But when you think about it, HUD's a federal agency with a history of putting poor people where they could get sick. After the corruption in the Turner administration, well, thank goodness for Mayor Whitmire. But his promised transparency of the Houston Housing Authority will fail if they continue to devolve their meetings into a hey, how great we are session, a love fest where only good news is shared.
At a time where likes and clicks matter more than accuracy and credibility,
we watched their high-priced PR lady, Tony Harrison, brag about an award they got the other day. She should have been fired years ago. She helped peddle those false videos denying the land at 800 Middle Street was contaminated in the first place when we told you it was, long before we spent that $54 million on this East End dirt. It was a lie. HUD paid $13 million for contaminated land that never could be used for public housing, in clear violation of federal law. The Biden administration's been silent on this housing scandal, but the Office of Inspector General, it says it's now investigating. Kinda late, don't you think? But I asked the Texas Attorney General, the Lieutenant Governor, the Mayor, are we really going to let little children play in that dirt before the entire place is remediated, when more signs of danger and more evidence of the lies are exposed every single day?
It's just amazing.
Amazing that none of our politicians seem to have the guts to do what's right. I think we should be suing people to get our money back. But hey, why stop another government gravy train? Would you like to see it stopped where it is?
For the future tenants, yes.
Ostera is worried about the next few years in this section of the East End. A massive cleanup is planned of the poison in the Velasco incinerator site.
Especially when they start the cleanup, what type of ash plumes is going to be generated?
You worry about it.
I do. And especially knowing now what I know, yeah.